Islamic apologists often attack the Gospel of John and other Gospels by asking, John who? Who wrote the Gospel of John? Where did he write it? What was his address? What was his last name?
John who?
Check out the following video of Ahmad Deedat, where he clearly alleges that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were anonymous Gospels, and they were written by somebody else, not the original authors.
Fourth book, the Gospel according to Saint John. I'm asking, what is this according to? According to, according to. Why according to? You see, you don't catch the joke. You just read the Gospel according to Matthew, according to Mark, according to Luke, according to John. I said, what is this according? Why according to? This little publication, it says there, Ahmad Deedat. That's my book. I wrote it. I'm responsible. You can take me to task. If I have made some utterances here which are false, you can take me to task, because this is my book. But if it was according to Ahmad Deedat, that means somebody else wrote it, not me. You are telling that according, maybe it was not according to what I'm thinking, but you're attributing things to me. It could be a lie against me, but if I wrote it, I'm responsible. But if somebody attributes something to me, say, according to Mr. Deedat, it could be false. So every book begins according to, because Matthew didn't sign his name, Mark didn't sign his name, Luke didn't sign his name, John didn't sign his name. These are anonymous books somebody had written.
So as we see clearly in the video, Deedat challenged the very author of John's Gospel. In his own words, someone else wrote John's Gospel. Now, if someone claims that the Apostle John wrote John's Gospel, but parts of it were corrupted later on, and parts of it are authentic, at least we can give them the intellectual courtesy and allow them to use some portions of John which they think are authentic. In other words, if Muslims allege that some parts of John were corrupted, but some parts of John are authentic, but John wrote John, then we can allow our Muslim friends to use John's Gospel to support Muhammad in that Gospel. Although that theory wouldn't make much sense, because then our Muslim friends would have to prove which parts of John were corrupted and which parts of John were authentic. That itself would be a very daunting task. However, if someone simply dismisses the very authorship of a book, it means the whole book must be dismissed. There's nothing in that book anymore which can be useful, right? Wrong. Islamic apologists like Deedat and many others like him practice first-class hypocrisy by first attacking John's very author, but then appealing to the same Gospel of John to authenticate their prophet. Watch the following video of Deedat where he used the same Gospel of John, which he attacked earlier, to prove that Jesus predicted the coming of Muhammad. In the next video, Deedat quotes from John chapter 16 verses 7 and 8 to prove that Muhammad was prophesied by Jesus.
Fourth book, the Gospel according to Saint John. I'm asking, what is this according to? According to, according to. Why according to? Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, Jesus Christ, he says, I tell you the truth. It is necessary that I go away. If I don't go, he won't come. But if I go, I will send him. Of a messenger to come after me, whose name shall be Ahmad. Fourth book, the Gospel according to Saint John. I'm asking, what is this according to? According to, according to. Why according to?
In my apologetics ministry to the Islamic world for more than 5 years, I've seen not only Ahmad Deedat, but many other Islamic apologists like him play the same game of first attacking the author of John's Gospel, but then turn around and use the same Gospel of John to advertise their prophet. Watch another video of Sheikh Khalid Yasin, who uses the same deceptive tactics.
John who? How could 4 people that wrote separately, all of them forgot to write their last names? The second thing, the third thing, not only did they forget to write their last names, but they began their chapters. Although they wrote separately from each other, they all started out the same. They all said, according to, according to, according to, according to. The gospel writers, the alleged gospel writers, they didn't write a name, they didn't write an address, they didn't write a reference, and in the beginning of each one of their gospels, they said, according to, according to, according to, according to. No one knows who these people are who wrote those 4 gospels. They absolutely were not disciples.
We have compelling evidence, both internal and external, the early church history and the early church fathers like Irenaeus, Papias, Origen, and Eusebius, which suggest that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wrote their respective gospels. But that discussion is for a separate video. For now, let's just continue to focus on the sheer hypocrisy of Islamic apologetics. Let's look at the following video where the same Islamic apologist, Khalid Yasin, who now uses the same Gospel of John that he attacked earlier to advertise and market his prophet.
Where did Jesus announce the coming of Muhammad? If you will read carefully in your Bible, you will find that when Jesus Christ was in the upper room in the Garden of Gethsemane, you remember that story, don't you? He was with his disciples and they asked him, "O Rabbi, what shall happen to us when you leave us?" He said, "Fear not, for I will send unto you the Comforter, and you will know him, because when he comes, he will speak of me. And he will not speak of himself, but whatsoever he hears from God, that shall he speak. And your hearts and your minds are not prepared, but so be it, when he, the Comforter, comes, he will make all things plain for you. And what he receives from God, that shall remain with you forever." Now, these are 4 prophecies that Jesus made to his disciples. What's the first one? He will speak of me. John who? Second thing, he said, he will not speak of himself, not words from himself, but whatsoever he hears, that shall he speak. John who? Thirdly, he said, your hearts and your minds are not prepared now, but howbeit when he, the Comforter, comes, that Counselor comes, he will make all things plain to you. The Quran says, verily this is a book that makes all things plain and clear. Is that what Jesus said? John who? The fourth thing, he says that whatsoever he receives from God shall remain with you forever. The Quran has been intact as it was revealed for 1424 years since it was revealed. And that's what Jesus Christ said. John who?
If someone has to use hypocrisy and double standards to make their case, then that means that they don't have truth on their side. Watch out, Islamic apologists. If the very authorship of John is questionable and worthy of your mocking, please stop using John's gospel to advertise and market your prophet. Thanks for watching.